Okay, we're going live. Here we go. Welcome, everyone. This is Princess Steps, Fall 2022, Week 8. The topic is injury prevention, and it's also Girlfriend Night. So welcome to all the girlfriends. How many people are girlfriends? Okay, so I'm going to say just a little bit about, of the people that are girlfriends right now, you've been in it before, so you're alumni. Are you alumni? Yes? No? Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about, so we meet here for about half an hour for the topic. And then after the topic, you get with your group and group leaders, and we go over to Riverfront Park for about 45 minutes. Tonight's a little different because it's back off week, so tonight's quite a bit shorter. And it's really nice out there, not too hot, not too chilly, not too dark yet. So in addition to the meeting as a big group every Tuesday night, you get homework, which is suggested guidelines for the rest of the week, and that's emailed to you. And also there's a weekly newsletter that comes that highlights the topic of the week. Also, because of COVID, when we went totally virtual, there's an optional Facebook group, and that's where you can also get more inspiration and accountability and that type of thing. So that's just a little brief thing about what the clinic is all about. John's going to talk tonight on injury prevention, and it's very applicable in terms of that topic for a lot of people, regardless of what level you're at. Walking, running, coming back into it from having had a layoff or being into it for the first time. Things happen, and we get excited. So he's going to review some very foundational things that can help you out. Even if you've heard it before, it's good to always have that reminder. Also, I wanted to remind you that Princess Steps 5K, 10K registration is live, and it is open to the public, and it's free. So all the links to that are on your information that's been sent to you. So with that, come on over, and we'll get started on injury prevention.
Thank you. Good crowd tonight. Thanks for showing up. So we are, like Susan said, week 8. So 2/3 of the way through. I spoke in week 3 about heart rates and building an anaerobic, or building your aerobic capacity, building some endurance. How many have noticed a change in the last 8 weeks? Okay, a little more energy. Workouts aren't as difficult to get through. Weather's changing a little bit, that helps. But also, what's happened in the course of those first 8 weeks is that first stage that I talked about in week 3 about building that aerobic capacity, building that better plumbing system where your blood and oxygen are moving through new beds of capillaries. Okay? One of the key things about it, avoiding injuries, avoiding overuse things, is not to overdo things early in a program. Okay? So if you've gotten your way up to week 8, and there's, some soreness here and there, but nothing really bothersome, nothing really painful, nothing that kind of makes you wonder whether or not you should go out there today. That's a really good sign that you've been patient, that you've built gradually, you've allowed that aerobic capacity to build, and those capillary beds to create themselves in your muscles. Okay? Congratulations if that's what you've done. Okay. Unfortunately, I've been coaching runners, walkers since 1984. And that's not what most people do. Most people, it's like, I turn 40 in a month, or I turn 50 in a month. I'm going to get fit, and I'm going to get fit now. Okay? And I'm going to overdo it totally, because that's the best way to do it, right? Jump in with both feet, jump off the cliff, you know, whatever you want to do to just get fit fast. How many have tried that approach? Okay. Goes great for about a week or two, right? Then things start hurting. Joints usually first thing, muscles maybe a little bit. Okay, when you get to the point when your hair hurts and your eyelashes hurt, you've really, really overdone it. Okay, hopefully nobody's gone quite to that phase. But you know, preventing injuries. Let's think about, you know, and Susan had this in the update this week. Think about what the first 8 weeks have been in the clinic. You know, each week, either myself or Susan is kind of giving you another little nugget about how to really build a program, how to be consistent, how to do princess steps. Okay, number one thing to keep away the lower leg injuries and the hamstring injuries. Princess steps really, really does work. Okay, so you know that was week 1. Introduced how to walk, how to run, how to shorten your stride, how to take more steps instead of those long loping steps that puts a lot of pressure on your shins, on your hamstrings. Okay, that whole concept of keeping your foot, I'm not gonna be able to do it on here so well, but keeping your foot underneath your body. Okay, so when you land, whether you're running or walking, if your heel's way out in front of you, and you got that kind of check mark with your toes sticking up in the air when you hit the ground, that puts a lot of pressure immediately on the shins. And your shins aren't super strong because they're real thin muscles. So your hamstring kind of pulls back as an emergency brake. Okay? So how many people over the years, different clinics or different programs you've tried to do, the shin splint issue, okay, the front of the shins, burning, aching, okay, or hamstring right behind the knee or up closer to the glutes, okay? Those are signs of that overstriding, of getting that foot out in front of you, having your body behind you and all your weight hitting the ground instead of being supported by all your joints. You're trying to slam it into the ground. Okay, so that's really the whole concept of princess steps. In this clinic, princess steps is a great name. It works. I don't know that I would introduce princess steps to a freshman, sophomore track team or cross country team. But it's that same concept of don't overstride. Don't throw your leg out in front of you. Okay? Take shorter steps, take more steps. You'll be far more efficient. Okay? Aches and pains do come along. When you've taken classes, like at a gym, if you've done that, or done any kind of weightlifting classes, everybody kind of feels proud of themselves. I went to the gym, did some workouts, why my arms were sore the next day, my shoulders, everything. I just felt good because I worked so hard. All right? Again, like I said, if your hair hurts, your eyelashes hurt, things have gotten to that point where it's just way too much, then you got to back off. Okay? Crazy thing about working out or overdoing it, you don't know you did until a day or two later, right? Everybody experienced that? It's the first beautiful day of spring, or the rains are starting to come in the fall. Good, we got to clean up the yard. We got to get it all done today, right? You get everything done. Okay, you put 5, 6, 8 hours into the yard, dig up the gardens, do everything. Everything looks great. You sit back at home, or you go back into the house, pour a glass of wine, have a beer, congratulate yourselves. You feel great. And then the next morning, you can't close your hands. You feel, what did I lift yesterday? Well, you lifted stuff all day long, right? Trying to clean up the yard. But it hits overnight or into the second day. Okay.
Does that mean we can hire out this year?
So that 40, what we call it, the 48 to 72 hour rule. Okay. When you overdo it, whether it's overdoing it yard work wise, overdoing it in a workout, in a run, in a walk, you know, I'm so fit now, I'm going to go hike 10 miles. Feels great. You get it done. But then the day after, you still feel pretty good. But then 2 days after, things start settling in. The wear and tear that you did on your joints or your muscles or your tendons, you start feeling that in that second day. Okay? So basically 48 hours after an intense overdoing it session, that's when you'll really start feeling, you know, the strain of what you did. The key is to make sure that between 48 hours and 72 hours, so that next 24-hour period, do those aches and pains subside, stay about the same, or intensify? Okay? If they intensify, guess what? It's time for a longer break, right? If they stay about the same, you still want to take a break, back off a little bit, okay? If they start subsiding, well, then you go out and you do it again, right? No, you just, you give yourself some time to recover. But the thing is, that 48 to 72 hour time period is really when your muscles, your body are trying to do some repair, okay? Some indicators that you've overdone it. You're really, really thirsty, okay? There's achiness, especially near the joints. You don't get a real good night's sleep. Okay? You're still kind of amped up maybe from a great workout or a great race or run or walk or whatever you did, or overdoing it in the yard. But you're kind of an agitated sleeper that night. Okay, you don't get that full rest. So those are signs that maybe there's a little bit of overdoing it. Okay, back off, slow it down a little bit. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop and do nothing for 2 or 3 days. Okay, with the homework that Susan has put together, just back it off 15-20%. It says, do a 40-minute walk, back it off to 30 minutes, back it off to 28 minutes. Do something to keep those muscles moving, keep the tendons and ligaments lubricated, okay, by moving, but just back off. A little less time, a little less intensity, okay? Even though the workout may call for kind of an interval thing where you're supposed to push it, if that doesn't sound good to your muscles and tendons and joints that day, it's okay to back it off, okay? The common thing that a lot of people, they're in a beginning level program, they're kind of getting fit for the first time, is this mentality that if I miss a day, I lose it all. It's gone. Everything I did, it's gone. No. Okay? You've taken 8 weeks to kind of build up to this point. There's residual fitness that you're going to have. Okay? You're not going to lose 8 weeks of being consistent overnight, or in 2 or 3 days, or in a week. Okay? There'll be a little bit of drop off, but not all of it. The thing about consistency and about the design of this program and why we have back off week 8 is that as you're building, your body does get to a point where you want to plateau a little bit or back off just a tiny bit. That's when recovery takes place. Okay? If anybody has been involved in kind of any track or cross-country programs, or your kids have been or grandkids have been, every good coach knows we can push kids, we can push athletes, push them, but then if you have to back off, you have to taper. Okay, how many people have done or heard about half marathon training or marathon training? We talk about the taper. Okay, the taper is what, after all that building is gone, taken place, and your fitness has gotten better, you need to back off so that fitness actually kicks in. Okay? The mistake that a lot of people make is that I'm getting better. It's going to go on like this, on a growth curve like that. It doesn't work that way. Our bodies understand that there's a point when too much work is too much work. Okay? And when you get to that point of too much, that's when the aches and pains start settling in. That's when overdoing it starts settling in. That's when you start feeling kind of, God, I'm so excited about my workouts. I really don't even know if I want to do it today. Another sign that you're starting to overdo it. Okay, where you're just kind of losing that lack of motivation. And sometimes it's almost all of a sudden that, God, last week everything was going so good. And now I don't care if I go out there at all. That's a sign you're overdoing it a little bit. Okay? That's where the taper comes in. That's where back off week 8 here comes in, so that your body can recover from that extra workload that you've done. Okay? And like I was saying, track cross-country season, right before districts or right before a state meet, a coach is going to back things down a little bit. And kids are like, that's when the kids that I've coached over the years, like, I'm not going to be fast enough. I got to get a workout in. No, you got to get a rest in. Okay? Because rest is really when your fitness level kicks in. Okay? Let's talk about some aches and pains. Susan put the accountability chart in there, right? 0 to 10. 1, 2, 3, green light, low, right? That green light is things are sore, maybe back off just a little bit, okay? But you can continue your workouts. That yellow section there, the moderate aches or pains, where you're really noticing something. You got a little pain in your shin, something in your knee, something in this other hip, okay? Just nothing hurts specifically, but it's just kind of wandering ache, that just, was it my left leg that hurt or my right leg that hurt? That kind of thing where you're just not quite sure where the actual pain is. That's a sign of that moderate, those 4, 5, 6 kind of aches and body giving you some feedback. Okay? When you hit 7, 8, 9, that red, okay, it's intense. Wow, it hurts right here. Every step I take, it hurts right here. Okay, there's a specific spot. That's more of an intense kind of injury or intense kind of ache that may turn into an injury, okay, that's going to really back you off and really make you curtail your program. Pay attention to that, okay? If there's a specific spot that's hurting, that could be a tendon strain, that could be, an irritation to a bone, an irritation to a joint. That's the time where you do back off for a day. Don't do anything for one day. Maybe try something a little bit the next day. Okay, don't try and, I'm going to force my way through it. It hurts, but I don't care. I'm not going to lose my fitness. I'm going to keep the program going. And then you're off for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Okay? It's better just if you hit that red zone where there's some intense achiness.
So how long are you going to stay in the red zone before you seek professional counsel like from a healthcare provider?
That's where the kind of that 48 to 72 hour rule that I talked about. Okay, let's assume, and most times you're in that red zone, but then 72 hours later, it's subsided, and it continues to subside. Then you're okay. If it gets intensely worse after that third day, or just hangs on, doesn't really back off at all, then I'd say probably after 7 to 10 days, you're best to seek some medical attention. And so thank you for that question. That's jumping ahead to what I was going to talk about a little bit, but that's fine. That's I want you thinking that way. That's great. That if things are beginning to talk, your body's talking to you and you're starting to get feedback about overdoing it, what's the next decision to make? Okay. Because a lot of us, we want to keep going. We don't want to back off and lose what we've done. So, pain is relative, right? Some days a little ache is just a little ache. But not today. Today, it really, really hurts. Okay? Because we're all human beings, and there's times when it's just like, I don't have time for my leg to hurt today. Okay? And that kind of intensifies what that ache or pain is. All right? So at times when you feel something, deep breath, relax, maybe roll out like Susan was talking about, do some core work, do something to just kind of get your mind off it, and then kind of re-examine. Is it really that sore, or is it just today is not the day for it to hurt? Okay? So there's, kind of some emotion and psychological side of, does an ache or a pain get intense or get more intense because of the attention you're being given it? Okay? Things to keep in mind always for injury prevention. The magic healer is ice. Okay? Ice, overheat. Okay, a lot of people, it hurts. Gotta get the heating pad, gotta get some heat on it. That's not what you want to do with any kind of a muscular or tendon, ligament, ache or pain. All right? Icing, reducing inflammation, getting the blood flow to move through that area where it's sore. Ice is always going to help. One of the favorite things that Susan and I love to do when we can sneak out of town, head to the mountains, do a long hike, do a trail run, and get into a cold river or a cold mountain lake. Okay? Unbelievable how that takes away all the aches and pains. Okay? Icing down a knee, icing down a shin, an ankle, it really does make a difference, and it does pull out the inflammation pretty quickly. Okay? If something's really sore, jumping in a hot tub, probably not the best decision. Okay? Ice things down first. All right? A good night's sleep kind of goes without saying. Okay? A lot of things go away with the 8 or 9 hour night of sleep. I know that's not on everybody's schedule all the time, but just sometimes backing off, taking it easy, getting that extra rest, an extra hour or two of sleep can make a humongous difference. Okay? Over-the-counter stuff, ibuprofen, naproxen, acetaminophen, those kinds of things. Don't ask me about CBD or any of that stuff. I've never tried it. Don't know. There's all kinds of stories out there, and the state of Oregon's making lots of money on it. So if that's your thing, go ahead. If it works. Let's see what else do I got. Keep in mind a lot of things that Susan has talked about. You know, or the one talk that I did about shoes. Okay, if your ankles are starting to bug you a lot, or your knees are starting to bug you a lot, do a shoe check. Figure out how long you've had those shoes. If you're up, you know, you've got 300 or 400 miles on a pair of shoes, then the shoes aren't doing the work anymore. Your body's starting to pick up the workload from the lack of cushioning and lack of support in the shoe. If nothing else, just come on in here, bring in your shoes, put on a new pair, walk back and forth, jog back and forth in them. That'll tell you real quickly, okay, my shoes are shot. These things feel so much better, these brand new ones. Then it's time. I mean, it's equipment. You want to have good equipment. When your shoes start wearing out, it's amazing how quickly an ache or pain can disappear with a brand new pair of shoes. A little bit of an advertisement there. Keeping an eye on your heart rate. Okay, if you're getting fitter and getting better, and you're not starting to notice that it's taking less and less time to go a certain distance, that's great. That's what fitness is all about. That's what this program is all about. But if you start noticing that you're always up there at that 80-90% of your heart rate, that's eventually going to bite you. Okay, make sure that you have those back off days in there. They're scheduled in the workouts. There's time. The warm up is really important. The cool down is really important. Always keep those in mind. Okay. Massage, body work. Any chiropractic stuff, yoga. I can put over here because we got to get yoga studio next door now. Anything like that. You're not straining. You're just getting the muscles loosened up, rolling out, the core work, those kinds of things. Fantastic to keep your body fit and loose. Okay. Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Thanks again for all the comments about this talk tonight. The older I get, the more I feel I have to really be careful with injuries because of age, right? So I'm just wondering, what about weight training? Anything with legs and weights? Do you think that's worth it? Do you think that has a benefit? Do you think that prevents injury? Or what's your opinion about weight training?
Okay. Definitely as we age. The question is weight training help as you get older? And should it be part of your program? Is that a good summary? Definitely as we age, you start losing muscle tissue, you start losing strength, and doing something to stay strong, whole body strong, is really important. When Susan does the core work stuff, she talked about that during her talk. That really is the best that I think. You're being able to keep your body weight, the modified push-ups, modified wall push-ups, things like that, where you're actually working the joints using your own body weight. I'm kind of a fan of the rope stuff, the TRX, those kinds of things where you're using your body weight and pulling on stuff. That's really good. A lot of gyms really provide really good programs where you're doing kind of a balanced. They take if you're working out with the trainer, always tell the trainer, hey, my first goal is to be more fit for walking and running and endurance stuff. because that's a lot different than, you know, really pushing the weights and really trying to get stronger and more, you know, build more muscle. So there is a point when too much work in the gym can affect your endurance and your ability to go longer and, you know, keep your body fitter for more aerobic endurance type activities. But the balance is really good, definitely as we age. Thank you, Karen, for the question. You want to keep that in your program.
So, where you ended with adjective is balance.
Uh-huh.
That's another thing that I've seen kind of be less reliable. So I know that core is huge part of balance, but do you have any other place you might send me in regards to making sure, you know, exercising not to the best of my ability?
Yeah, I'll jump in there, and that's a great question too. Consistency is going to help with that balance, because I've said it before. If you're trying to do your walking program or running program, whichever the case, and then how am I going to fit in the core plus the rolling out plus the stretching plus the yoga plus the weights and all that kind of stuff, right? So how do I balance it all out? You definitely want to maintain the aerobic part, because that's good for your heart, and when you walk or run, that's going to strengthen you too. Okay, so that's going to strengthen, obviously it's going to help keep your legs strong when you're walking and running, because you're using your legs, right? So you got to step back and think about where you're at in your life in terms of how much time do you have to do all that? How much time do you have to keep that balance if you're still, whether you're working or whether you're retired and have other responsibilities, volunteering, grandkids, whatever. It is an important thing to consider. So how much time do you have and what's going to be priority? I would say without a doubt, maintain that aerobic aspect. And as you can, fit in, maybe 1 week you do more core. Maybe the next week when you have time, you do some of the wall push-ups or arm, you know, upper body arm strength type stuff. Maybe another week you fit in the rolling out. And that's how you can think about the balance, is alternate, because you don't probably have, most of us don't have time to do it all every week. But if you can maintain consistency on the aerobic part, which means the walking or the running, and then alternate which week you're going to do, that's kind of how I keep that balance. I don't try to do it all every week. Does that help?
That's great. I'm thinking physically balanced and sober. You know, being physically balanced. I know sometimes when I'm walking, especially trying to keep the pace going and stuff, sometimes all of a sudden
That's a lot of core. The question is, how do I be physically balanced, left, right, and that kind of thing? That's core. That's core, and I would say ankle strength too. Because again, as we get older, we lose that. And, you know, I've heard something, some of you might have heard it too, as we get older, if you can still stand on one foot, your life lasts longer. I mean, you live longer. Is that crazy? I don't think it's so crazy. And part of it is because, you know, having been in occupational therapy, falls are not uncommon. In fact, falls are common. So what can you do to prevent falls, aside from pay attention, lift up your feet, don't let your feet drag, maintain your overall strength. And walking and running, even if you can't run, when you know, we get older, and a lot of us that are getting older, like, I don't run every day. I run maybe 3 to 4 days a week. I haven't run every day for a long time. I was on my bike this morning intentionally to get the heart going, but to take a break from the impact. So again, what you're doing with walking or running is awesome for that balance. Because think about again, not to pick on, but think about the older people who can't walk, or they're, you know, not even ambulatory. If you can maintain left, right, repeat, strong, if you can maintain that, that's pretty good.
And one check that you can do, because this happens kind of without you even noticing it, of just hold on to a chair or a railing or something, and just make sure that your squats, you're going down evenly, and you're not favoring one knee or one hip as you go up and down. That's something to check every day. You could do a few of those, not so much as an exercise, just to make sure that I'm balanced, kind of going up and down, just in a squat.
And I would say too, if you or anybody's concerned about your balance or have any kind of concern, talk to your doctor and request a referral to a physical therapist who can go through an overall evaluation and assess your strengths and weaknesses and give you a home exercise program. Or maybe if you're going to a gym, request a session or two with a personal trainer who can go through a thorough assessment and say, yeah, you have some balance issues and here are some things to work on. But the thing I would say is, be careful to let them know, whatever your age is, doesn't matter, what your primary goals are in reference to, I just want to be healthy. And these are my goals, to maintain walking or maintain running or be able to go on a hike when I'm whatever, 30, 40, 80, whatever. Let them know what your primary goals are so they don't take you off on some wild goose chase trying to make you super, super strong when that doesn't jive with what your primary overall goal is. Does that make sense? Yeah. There was a question over here.
So I was really struggling with fitting anything anywhere, and what I did is I tied it to going to the bathroom. Every time I went into the bathroom, I just did 10 squats.
That's brilliant.
Like nobody knows I'm in there. It's just if I'm in there, I just do it. Even if you're in a stall, I mean, nobody, your feet are.
Stephanie, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to repeat that in case the people here didn't hear. So Stephanie had a hard time fitting it into her life, the extra stuff. So every time she went to the bathroom, she did 10 squats. I think that's brilliant. And I'll give another example. When I'm drying off after I get out of the shower,
Brushing your teeth on one foot.
brushing your teeth on one foot, or drying and trying to stand on one foot to see if I can maintain that balance. Okay, so you can get creative in everyday, what do we call it? Functional strength training. Yes, or just getting creative like that. Any other questions? This is great, and it's okay because your workout tonight is shorter, so it's okay to steal a little more time in here. And these are some things too that for those of you that are on the Facebook group, if you come up with something creative and inspiring, feel free to share it on there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. The topic next week. Thank you, John. The topic next week is nutrition, and Whitney will be back. Mm-hmm. And then after, I think it is it right? Is it nutrition?
Event prep.
Oh, thank you. Okay, it's not nutrition next week. Next week is event preparation, and then nutrition will be week 10. So, with that, have a great week, and we'll see you next week.